It is without a reasonable doubt that we find ourselves thrust within an extraordinary time period. On the other side of a most unfathomable 2020, which saw the economy of the lower strata of the petty bourgeois and the proletariat utterly devastated within the United States. 200,000 small businesses were destroyed and 40 million people were economically displaced by pandemic-related mitigation policies. Life savings were exhausted, homes were sold to BlackRock or foreclosed, millions were evicted or on the verge of eviction. Despite incremental stimulus injections into the economy in terms of the whole picture, people have less money than they did before the pandemic, and to make matters worse, petroleum output was throttled, and whether liberals choose to acknowledge this or not, we are still a petroleum-based economy. With less output, demand increases, and with increased demand comes increased costs, and which in turn makes everything else expensive: extraction, production, transport. Therefore, wiping out whatever gains were won by wage increases and bringing us collectively to a condition that was, as I mentioned before, worse than before the pandemic. Most of the people who lost their careers and their generations-run family businesses either had to take out tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt to go back to college and learn new skills with no promise of a better position on the other side of a diploma, or they had to take up work that feels degrading, dehumanizing, humiliating, soul-crushing, and time-consuming in the service industry, working at fast food and or retail stores. In my case, I had to work at Walmart. It sucked, let me tell you. In addition to driving for ride shares to supplement their low wages which barely allow them to make ends meet. This, too, is amidst the backdrop of 700,000 U.S. citizens having died directly due to COVID or indirectly due to added comorbidities, the 1% making some $4 trillion in 2020 and burning billions to fly into outer space. The private pharmaceutical sector, not unlike the private military and private security sectors in the early 2000s, remember the war on terror? Overstepping its bounds, shaping public policy with vaccine mandates, and are making the general public very uncomfortable. That's another reality establishment liberal shills need to get used to. They need to get used to it. And no, I'm not anti-vaccine. No. There was also the modern-day attempted Cromwellian coup that occurred in the Capitol back on January 6th, but truth be told, every elected official counting votes that day, whether they're pro-Trump or pro-Biden, serve the 1%. They don't serve the 99%. We don't live in a democracy. We live in an oligarchy that controls both parties, and maybe the servants of the oligarchy deserve to be scared just a little bit. There was no emergency basic income allocated to the most vulnerable who did not qualify for unemployment. There was no attempt to establish a single-payer healthcare system. Eviction moratoriums were lifted. People were getting thrown out of their homes. Unemployment benefit increases were discontinued. This is how your great sacrifice of 2020, of locking down and foregoing all public and social engagements and losing your home, your business, your life savings at the urging of professional class technocrats in academia who can never be wrong about anything, right? And of which has been rewarded by the political establishment. For the proletarian left, it's a reward of poverty, despair, and austerity. And for the blue-collar right, it is the reward with the prospect of forced unemployment due to their unwillingness to get a vaccine that was originally supposed to be for those with compromised immune systems, the elderly, and optional. In addition to rising costs of food, fuel, living, and income distribution becoming ever more stratified for everyone, in addition to the constant gaslighting, the misdirection, the never-ending postmodern iconoclastic counter-inquisition pushed by the Malthusian left, the disgusting and cavalier racism and chauvinism pushed by the reactionary right, the fear porn put out by both liberal and conservative mainstream media outlets, the censorship levied by tech companies of anti-establishment voices, and I'm surprised if this even gets out and goes viral. Probably won't, but who knows? Along with tens of trillions of dollars worth of capital being offshored to Grand Cayman. Who would have thought about that? The 99% has had enough. And over the due course of this year, be it by force of dislocation due to pandemic mitigation measures, automation, or voluntary, a silent strike is being waged on the establishment that does little to give back to the rank and file workers who make this country operate. What we are seeing is unprecedented. A shortage of 80,000 trucking positions, a shortage of 3,500 piloting positions. The Brotherhood of Local Engineers and Trainmen reports a 33% shortage of all railroad-related workers since 2015. On October 6th, 500,000 shipping containers were stuck off the coast of Southern California and could not offload product due to the shortage of labor, as previously mentioned, relative to railroad and trucking positions. But shortages don't just end with transport. Mercer Consulting Firm projects a shortage of 400,000 home health aides and 29,400 nurse practitioners by 2025. Currently, there are 965,000 retail job openings. There are currently 10,000 John Deere workers who are on strike because corporate wants to reform salaries into a two-tier payment system. 1,400 Kellogg cereal workers are currently on strike. Earlier this year, Frito-Lay and Nabisco workers went on strike. In March, 800 nurses at St. Vincent's Hospital in Massachusetts went on strike. In April, 1,100 coal miners in Alabama went on strike. So the labor left is starting to come back to life, isn't it? But wait, there's more. It doesn't end there. On September 9th, President Biden passed a law requiring federal contractors to mandate vaccinations, for some 27 million employees, and they must be covered. As far as federal contractors are concerned, they all must be vaccinated by December 8th. No questions asked, otherwise they lose their jobs. Then you got municipalities such as New York and Chicago, which are being sued by their police departments, and it appears as if other municipal departments, other than the police, are also planning to sue. No, they shouldn't sue. No. What they really should do is go on strike. Every municipal worker who doesn't want to get vaccinated goes on strike. And any municipal worker who is vaccinated but supports the decisions of their colleagues should also go on strike too. No police. That will make the real anarchists happy, except for the brain-dead people who listen to Vosh, because he's not an anarchist. He's just some rich kid Democrat LARPing as an anarchist. No sanitation workers, no fire department, no nothing. All of them should go on strike. If Democratic-run cities are going to fire them all for not getting vaccinated, despite years worth of following the rules, not calling out of work, and doing everything that they've been told, I'm just following orders. You know that they always say that, right? Well, you know what? Taft-Hartley be damned. Go on strike. Don't worry, the dim-witted Trump Republicans will support them anyway, because now the most idiotic member of Congress, Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, in addition to the former president, they're going against the Republican establishment, which produced the hideously wretched Anti-Worker Taft-Hartley Act of 1947 and is openly encouraging for so-called patriots to, go on strike in protest of the vaccine mandates. The get a job people have left their jobs to protest corporate lobbying influencing Democratic policymakers. Holy contradiction, Batman. 1,000 Southwest airline workers are on strike over the vax mandate. Air traffic controllers are planning a mass sick-out for the same reason. Unions affiliated with the Union Pacific Railroad are also planning to go on strike amid a worker shortage nonetheless due to the vax mandate. Wow. With all this activity going on from, like I said, a re-emerging labor left and, supposedly the mostly, but not entirely anti-mandate right-wing Trump types, with voluntary and involuntary termination happening left and right, work stoppages happening left and right, and a supply chain crisis growing worse and worse by the day, you know what? You know what? Black Friday, folks. Black Friday, the start of the holiday shopping season, where all the corporate shareholders whose tentacles are entrenched in both political parties make their money that day, Black Friday. That would be a perfect day to stage a nationwide walkout. Taft-Hartley Act, once again, be damned. If you don't feel like you're getting paid enough, walk out on Black Friday. If you don't like vax mandates, walk out on Black Friday. If you don't like either, walk out on Black Friday. May Day happens the day after Thanksgiving this year. You know what? Hell, if your radical liberals don't like Thanksgiving because it celebrates genocide, you know what? Walk out on Black Friday. Christian conservatives are always complaining about how consumerism has taken over the sacredness of Christmas. Well, you know what? Walk out on Black Friday. If you don't like Christmas either, you know what? Walk out on Black Friday. Shut this whole goddamn country down on Black Friday. Let the people who have been preaching about greater good and sacrifice while they were sipping on their $30 lattes that were delivered to them by their DoorDash essential worker hero, who they didn't tip, during their Zoom meetings, pontificating about how morally superior they are to the rest of the filthy rabble who doesn't listen to them. You know what? Let them learn the meaning of sacrifice and greater good. When you shut their economy down, they want a new normal? Give it to them. They will feel it the most when they can't get their spoiled kids anything for Christmas. Shut the whole thing down. And maybe, just maybe, that will scare the bosses into paying more. And maybe, just maybe, that will get the professional class establishment shills to back the hell off a little bit. Do not let the establishment Democrats and their never-Trump neoconservative cohort allies like Liz Cheney, whose father's greed murdered 1 million Iraqis so his company can make a profit, fool or mislead you. Do not let the do-nothing DSA, whose leadership is filled with a bunch of loser, brown-nosing ass-kissers, grifting off the struggles of BIPOC and trans people who need a resume filler to get a job in a nonprofit, discourage you from engaging with reactionary people. Do not let the Taft-Hartley Act scare you. The Cold War is over, and half the Republicans are supporting anti-vax strikes anyway. Do not let these loser, fake left bread tube scum like Vosh and Thought Slime, these pretentious, spoiled, bought-off Pied Pipers of misdirection who never organized a fucking protest in their lives, mislead or confuse you. None of these people give a shit about you. But you know what? I give a shit about you, okay? And my comrades give a shit about you. Your life has been made into a living hell for the past 2 years. You have been treated like expendable, disposable cogs in a ruthless machine that wants to suck the life out of you so the higher-ups can live a life of luxury while you break your back for crumbs so you can buy crumbs and give your crumbs back to the machine that just paid you the crumbs. You have every right to stand up for yourself, however way you see fit, with whoever you see fits. In any way necessary. We are in a class war right now, and it's time to make the people on top and the people who shill for them, whether they be left or right, feel just a morsel of the rage, pain, and frustration that you have felt for the past 2 years. Walk out on Black Friday. Make this silent strike silent no more. Let them hear all of you, and let them tremble before the collective might of the 99%. This is Comrade Pella, signing out.